Before I bring Zach up, does anybody have any quick questions? Yes, sir.
You briefly mentioned a company in Washington. I was just curious, what was that company? What did that company do?
It was an entertainment company, so actually it's a great question. What we did was worked with models and actors, and basically got ahead of the entertainment curve. So we sort of saw the internet before a lot of the companies in that industry really saw the potential for it. Probably a little bit too soon, unfortunately, because a lot of the companies at the time resisted the internet and wanted to do things the old school way. Believe it or not, every single one of those companies within a couple of years was doing everything on the web now. Sort of the same way that you used to clip out, take the Sunday newspaper. Some of you who are a little older remember. You get the Sunday paper and you clip out the wanted ads, and you type out a resume and you go to Kinko's. Who does that anymore? Nobody. Everything is on the internet.
You mentioned a company the first time you were in Orlando. Well, what did that company do?
It was similar. It was in the entertainment field, but it was strictly internet-based. And so what we saw was really the potential of the way that the industry used to work was you would want to hire a model, you would go to a modeling agency, and they would literally have to FedEx or courier pictures of the models and actors. And we said, it's insane. This is like the 20th century. Like, let's get with the internet. And so we put everything on the web to basically make it instant, as opposed to having to do it the old school way where you'd have to put stuff in the mail or FedEx it.
Do you think that there's a possibility that soft rock is growing too fast? I know you spoke about that a little bit.
It's a great question. First of all, we've been around for about 8 years now. Gigits was probably the first website where we really rolled it out slowly. A lot of the other websites that we launched went through QA, got it developed, and said, okay, let's take it live and go full speed. With Gigits, I think it was almost about a 2 to 3 week process where we really slowed things down and just rolled it out to a very limited number of people to make sure that all the bugs were fixed first, to make sure that anything that we needed to tweak was before it went live to everybody. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why it's been so much more successful than the other websites. The other thing is, and not to get into the accounting principles, but we pay cash for just about everything. And that's very unique in the business world. We don't buy a lot of things on credit. We don't finance things over 5 or 10 years like other companies. We pay cash because we have the cash on hand. So, great question.
You mentioned a major investor back in 2002. Was that Lou Pearlman?
That was Lou Pearlman, yes. You guys know your history. Very good. Zach must have given you guys a quiz in Discovery. Yes, it was.
With the nature of our company, why do you think it is that companies like Monster are really willing to work with us?
That's a good question. I think it's the fear of the unknown a little bit. Going back to the analogy from the company in DC, it's that people don't necessarily like change. And Monster has a great business model. I should say had a great business model. The problem is that that's just not the way that people are doing it now. To pay $500 or $600 to place an ad for a waitress just doesn't make any sense. What are you going to do? Put it in the Orlando Sentinel? Again, who reads the newspaper? How many of you guys found your job out of the Orlando Sentinel? Anybody? Exactly. So there's that dichotomy of the old school newspaper, and I would say even the old school Monster, which is make the employer pay a ton of money for this ad, regardless of how many resumes you get, regardless of how many people are actually qualified. We're doing it a little bit differently. You're going to pay for the resumes that you want, that you think are actually qualified to work at your company.
Who is Paulette Neese?
Who is Paulette Neese? Name rings a bell. I'm trying to remember why. Someone's gonna have to help me on that one. It's very familiar, but
If you don't remember, don't worry.
okay, it doesn't recognize. It's like one of those names that I recognize, but I can't place it. Yes, sir.
Were you
Yes, ma'am.
really the president of Model 1?
I am being set up so hard. Like the second or third question, I was like, something's just. Yes, I was absolutely the president of Model 1. One quick question for you guys. How much is he paying you? Because I will double it. One more question, then it's time for Zach to come up.
Did any of your models get work?
Absolutely, yes. Many of them.
I got one. Has anyone at Gigits ever gotten a job?
Yes, many of them. In fact, occasionally, and it's one of the things that you guys will sometimes get calls, there's those customer service calls. You will get calls from people that say, hey, just wanted to call back in, let you know I got a job. Or, hey, I got a buddy of mine who's out of work, how can I get him on Gigits? And yes, those calls do count against your RPC, I'm sorry.
Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Toyota of Orlando?
With it. All right, I'll give you the 30-second story of Toyota of Orlando. So, Alex's dad bought an extended warranty on his, was it Lexus or Infiniti? You're not supposed to buy those because they're usually a ripoff, and this is why. So Toyota of Orlando refused to honor the warranty. And they said, well, you don't have proof that you did all the oil changes on time. He says, yeah, actually I do. I have all the receipts. I did my own oil changes. I mean, Alex's dad is like a brilliant, engineering doctorate who was a college professor. So he knows how to change his own oil. So he showed them all of the oil receipts, and they said, no, we're not going to accept it. The warranty's void. I said, well, that's not really fair. I think it was either Memorial Day or 4th of July weekend. It was a big holiday weekend in the summertime, so I don't remember which one. And I just said, you know what, it just made me so angry that the way that they were ignoring the fact that he bought the warranty. He paid this extra money specifically for this reason. So I told Alec, I said, you know what, if we get a couple of people together, I bet we could have a little protest and give them a little bit of bad publicity. And Alec was like, no, I don't, my dad he's low key, he doesn't want to make a big deal about it. I said, let's just see what we can do. And so that Saturday, again, either Memorial Day or 4th of July, which is a major weekend for them to sell cars, like 15 of us showed up outside of Toyota of Orlando. They used to be up on Colonial. That was when they were at their old location. And we had Scam Buster t-shirts made up. And we had flyers that we handed out. Everything was factual. Alec, this is Mr. DeFrauwi's issue. He bought an extended warranty. Toyota of Orlando's ignoring it. And as people pulled into the parking lot, they would see us standing there. They'd walk over and take a flyer. And a couple of the guys from the dealership were laughing at us. They're looking at us and just sitting there smoking their cigarettes. And they stopped laughing after about a half an hour when the first 5 or 6 customers took our flyers, read it, got back in their cars, and drove off the lot. Then it wasn't so funny anymore. So then this enormous, 6'8" general manager comes over to me, and first of all, he calls the cops. So the cops come, and I said, we're not doing anything illegal. We're on public property. We're on the sidewalk. We're not blocking their entrance. And the cop looked at him and he says, what do you want me to do? He gets in his car. He rides off. And the general manager is cursing at me and yelling at me. And he says, what the hell do you want? And I said, we just want you guys to honor Dr. DeFrauwi's warranty. That's all. Just fix the car. Well, that's not going to happen. The owner needs to be involved, and he's on the golf course today. And I said, there's no problem. And then at that point, our friend Shannon, who owned a giant RV, pulled up in the median. Where that part of Colonial is, there's a giant median. And he drives the RV into the median, puts out the awning, brings out an enormous cooler of water and Gatorade and suntan lotion. And we're slapping on the suntan, putting on the hats, we're drinking Gatorade, and I look at the guy and I go, we're going to be here a long time. Like today and tomorrow and this whole weekend, and we're going to cost you guys a lot of money. And he's like, yeah. And he goes back inside, and another 4 or 5 customers come, take the flyers, and leave. And at that point, he started to do the math and realized this weekend was going to be a complete nightmare for him if he didn't settle this. So 20 minutes later, this guy comes racing into the lot in a sports car. It's the owner. He brings me and one of the other people inside, and he says, what do you blankety blanks want? And I said, just honor the warranty. Just fix Dr. DeFrauwi's car, and we will be out of here in 5 minutes. And he's screaming at us, cursing at us, and he says, that's all it's going to blankety blank take? I said, that's it. Sure enough, we left, and he fixed the car for free.